Hey, what's up, Thrive family? Dr. Mike here with another wellness workshop for you this evening. Good opportunity to really just share and enrich our ability to understand and care for our body. It's one of the biggest things we focus on in our office when it comes to any care for any of our patients is a lot of it is based in education. So this is what our evenings are for this on these Tuesday nights, is to share in that education, to interact and engage to a deeper level so we can maximize our ability to care for our bodies and get the most out of chiropractic care or anything else that we're doing that's positive for our system. So tonight, my focus is on one of our basic vital needs, something that our body absolutely has to do in order to stay healthy. And it's simple enough as sleep. Sleep is something that our body cannot go without. We have to sleep a certain amount of hours throughout the course of our days and our weeks, or our body will begin to break down and dysfunction. No different than if we were to stop drinking water or stop eating. These are things that our body is required to do in order to maintain ourselves. Sleep is vital because it's our body's ability to shut down and start to rebuild and repair our system. Obviously, our body is in need of that on a regular basis. We all have different accidents and injuries that occur that require our body to heal and to rest and repair. But additionally, our body is constantly changing over its cells. The cells in our system are constantly being changed and reborn, if you will. As we look at the cellular system of our body, we become new again from our cellular standpoint. All of our cells are brand new about every 7 years or so. So our body is constantly having to go through change, adaptation, and growth, and sleep is really a big portion of when that typically occurs. So if we're not sleeping well, we're directly affecting our body's ability to heal and function at its peak potential. And that's one of the biggest things we want to focus on when it comes to working with any of our clients, is to help getting them to whatever their peak potential and goal may be at that point. So sleep is vital in that sense. Now when it comes to sleep itself, quality of sleep is a big portion of that, and also the number of hours of sleep. Everybody requires a little bit different sleep to really get to their maximum. A great example of this is just looking at between myself and Dr. McKenzie. We are very different when it comes to our sleep patterns and our ability to function at our optimal level. I myself am the weirdo in the family that really only requires about 5 hours of sleep or so per night. This puts me in a great position to be functioning at my best. I wake up feeling super rejuvenated. As Dr. McKenzie will certainly tell you, I hop out of bed in the morning and I'm ready to go. It doesn't take me much to get going. I don't need a cup of coffee. I don't really have to do anything too crazy for myself. I can get up and get right into my daily activities. I can jump right into an exercise. Whatever I need to do for the day to get myself to where I want to be is really all I need with that 5 hours of sleep. Now, in contrast, for somebody like Dr. McKenzie, she is very much so the opposite. She requires a lot more sleep to feel much more rested. And I'm not just talking right now with a 2-month-old in the health, although that definitely plays a big role on things. But on a general basis, Dr. McKenzie is the kind of person who requires, really in the ideal sense, about 9, even 10 hours worth of sleep a night. This puts her in her potential to be the best that she can be, to feel rested, to be functioning at her highest capacity. Now, that doesn't make me right and her wrong, or her wrong and me right. It's just about finding our optimal ability to function at our best. And every different person is different in that respect. So timing is never really a big problem or a big concern for myself, as long as we can wake up feeling rested. That's really my best way to measure our sleep quality, is the way you get up and feel in the morning. And unfortunately, for a lot of the people that walk through our doors, they don't get up in the morning feel that rested. They don't have that energized feeling right out of bed. Or even as they go throughout the course of the day, they may wake up and get themselves moving and feel pretty good, but midday, even mid-afternoon, they're going to start feeling that crash again, and that becomes a bigger problem for them. And a lot of this can play into their quality of sleep. So how do we change this? How do we affect this to a bigger level? One of the biggest things I see outside of just very, very mindfully caring for our spine and our nervous system through chiropractic care is being mindful of, again, going back to one theme that I go to a lot, is putting less negative stress on our system. The more we can take negative stress out of our lifestyle and put more positive stressors in, the better off we're going to be. That's one of the hallmarks of the care on our office on a regular basis. So how do we do this when it comes to sleep? How do we take out negative stressors? Well, it really plays down to our positioning. right? So there are a lot of different ways to sleep. If you're somebody like myself, I know as a kid especially, I would start on one side of the bed and I'd end up all the way on the other, and I'd be in all these different types of weird positions and everything like that. But generally we want to start and focus on some simple positions of sleep, okay? But I want to actually go even a step more basic before we even jump into sleep positions and really talk about the spine itself and its ideal positioning when it comes to being in what's called the neutral position. Because the best case scenario, regardless of how you sleep, the position you sleep in, is to be in what's considered a neutral position. Neutral is going to put us in the most relaxed state for our spine, put the least amount of stress and force on it. So how do we accomplish this, and really what does that look like? So let's give you a visual on that one. So it's simple enough as we go to my beautiful artwork, right? I know I'm a master artist. So as we look at our spine, as we look first at this first image here, this is being a view of the spine directly from the front or directly from the back, if you will. Ideally, we want to see our spine from this position, looking straight on, being nice and straight. This is the ideal situation. This is what we want to strive to have our spine be in. This provides it to be its strongest and at its most capacity to really function in the way of holding the weight of our body up. But even when we're in a lying position, we want to maintain this straightness. We don't want to see that as we lay down that we're seeing our body tilt in one direction or the other. We don't want to be in these positions for long periods of time because our body's going to start to adversely adapt to them to try to limit stress. So ideally, we want to stay here when it comes to that neutral spine from the front. Now, as we look from the spine from the side, it's a completely different ballgame. From the side, our spine is designed to have curvatures. Curvatures are there for very important reasons. It actually helps to protect our spine. For those daily impacts, the walking, the running that we do on a regular basis, it allows the spine to act a bit like a spring, if you will, to protect itself over the long term of our life. So when we look at the spine, it should have distinct curvatures. Now, bear in mind, as we look at this image, this side would be considered the front of the body. This side would be considered the back of the body. So as we look at the first section here, we should really have three major curvatures. We should have this forward curvature in what's called our cervical spine or our neck. We should have this reverse curvature through the thoracic spine or the area surrounded by our rib cage. And as we drop down into that lower spine, again, a forward curvature should be seen here down into our lower back or our lumbar spine. Now this is what we ideally, again, want to maintain while we're in any of our sleeping positions. And it doesn't matter whether you're a front sleeper or a side sleeper or a back sleeper. In any position, we want to try to maintain this. Now, one that's a little bit harder to show from an imagery standpoint is also if you call it the y-axis for all those math geeks out there, is that rotational stresses. Again, ideally we should understand the fact that when we look at our spine doesn't normally sit with our hips facing one way and our shoulders going the other. This isn't necessarily good for our body either in that respect. So again, ideally we want to stay right within that same plane of overall motion. So if we can maintain that neutral, we can take that stress off our spine. We can put ourselves into a more relaxed state. Now this plays an important role for a couple major reasons. Not only from the outward sense, where we're going to tend to find that we're going to have a lot less of just those generalized aches and pains that some of us tend to be woken up with in the middle of the night if our spine is in its ideal position. But additionally too, it's going to actually allow your body to be in a much more relaxed state. And that plays to just posture in general. Most people don't actually realize that the posture of our spine is really important to even our emotional ability to manage our nervous system. So think about it this way. When somebody is under a stressful situation, when somebody is feeling in danger or even feeling sick, if you will, what do they do from a postural standpoint? Do you tend to find somebody in that position nice and upright, chest out, shoulders back, head in a nice straight position? Do they walk around like this typically when they're really stressed out? Not most of the time. We deal with people on a constant basis and they can read stress pretty well. Most people that walk through our doors and interact with us on a daily basis, if they are under a lot of stress, if they're not feeling well, if something's just not right, you're going to find them, they're going to have their shoulders coming in, they're going to be rounding that back a little bit more, the head may be tucked into that forward position. They're going to be going into what's considered a fetal position. Fetal position is all about protection. When your body is stressed, it naturally wants to protect itself. It's super smart in that way. So what this does though is it puts our body into a state of what's called sympathetic overload. Higher sympathetic tone, it makes it harder for our body to actually get to sleep and rest. Because your body's not designed to function and sleep in that zone. It's all about defense. We don't defend ourselves while we're sleeping. So ideally, in order to be sleeping, we should be moving into that parasympathetic zone. Parasympathetic nervous system is all functioning about resting and digesting for our system. So ideally, we want to be in that position. So if we're posturally in a more neutral position, from a nervous system standpoint, we can actually allow our body to stay more so within that parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to allow us to sleep better, get to sleep easier, and actually sleep deeper throughout the course of our night as well. So that's why posture and that neutral spine can play such a big role, not only from a mechanical sense, but also from directly a neurological sense in our body's ability to relax. Okay, so that's really the bigger focus, here today, is getting the body to be in that nice relaxed state. And in terms of also managing that parasympathetic system in order to get to sleep, for those of us that have a challenging time even just shutting down our system, shutting down the mind, the clutter that goes on, just some simple breathing exercises are a great way to do on that one. You can check out our YouTube channel. We have a great video on there about a simple breathing exercise called box breathing that really helps to bring down that parasympathetic nervous system, bring up our parasympathetic nervous system, bring down our sympathetic nervous system, so the body can rest to a deeper level. Now, let's take this a step further now and talk about those sleep positions. So I get this question quite a bit. We get people that come in the office on a regular basis that have a variety of different problems, and sleep tends to be something that pops up quite a bit. If they don't mention it on the first time we see them, it's going to come up sometime throughout the course of their care that they're either are having problems sleeping, or they've noticed a drastic improvement in their ability to sleep because of being under care here in the office. So it's a question that comes up quite often about really what is the ideal position to be in. And how should I be sleeping? What should I be sleeping on? Again, there is no 100% right answer for everybody. Everybody's body is a little bit different, but there are some general rules of thumb that we can use for most people as they take things on a case-by-case basis. So when we talk about sleeping position, there's really, more so 3 primary sleeping positions. We're either sleeping on our back, sleeping on our side, or sleeping on our stomach. Okay, and then we can put a bit of a subcategory to side sleeping, where it's somebody who's sleeping on their side, but more so in that fetal position with their knees tucked up towards their chest, arms and shoulders tucked in. Again, it's not a full subcategory to me, it's just a subcategory of side sleeping. We'll go over that a little bit more so. So when I talk about sleeping in its ideal sense, really in general idea here, I want to be focusing on either 2 main positions. You either want to be sleeping on your back or you want to be sleeping on your side. Those are really the best case scenarios to keep your spine in that neutral position that we've been talking about. Just because, unfortunately, when you sleep on your stomach, the biggest thing that's going to be affected is our neck. Unless you have one of our awesome tables here in the office, or a massage table where you can have that nice little cutout, you're not going to be able to lay face down in your bed and keep your head straight forward, unless you want to suffocate yourself, and I highly suggest avoiding that one. So unfortunately, when you sleep on your stomach, what do we have to do? We have to turn our head to the side. So what are we doing? We're affecting that y-axis that I talked about. We're putting our spine in significant rotation. Now, yes, our spine is designed to rotate. That's perfectly fine, but as I said, whenever we put our body in a consistent posture position for a long period of time, such as the 5 to 10 hours a night that we sleep, your body is going to start to adapt to that. And ideally, we don't want to see that our body's trying to adapt to our head constantly being in this right-hand side position, because what's going to happen over time? Over time, your body's going to try to adapt to that, and it's going to actually start changing the way your spine's moving and functioning. It can put a lot of stress there. So we're going to see that all of a sudden you can move really far to one side, to that one side that you tend to turn towards, but all of a sudden you may only get so far going in the opposite direction, because the body's trying to limit the stress to that one side of the body. And that becomes a bigger problem. That's why we start seeing a lot of cervical issues pop up with our stomach sleepers that do come in the office. So for those individuals, I do highly recommend jumping over and moving into more of a side position or a back lying position. These are going to be much, much more ideal to keep our spine in that neutral position, because there's some simple things we can do to keep us more so in that position. And for that one, I'm actually going to jump over here today. Now, I did not bring a nice gigantic bed into my office. I certainly wasn't going to try to carry my king size bed in here in the office. office. But what I did is the next best thing. I am an avid hiker. I love to get out in the woods. I love to camp. So I do have an amazing collection of sleeping pads. So I brought one of those with me today. So a big shout out to Nemo Equipment, who's just down the hall from us. They produce some amazing outdoor equipment. I absolutely love them. As a chiropractor, I certainly recommend their sleeping pads for your outdoor adventure sleeping needs. So let me get you down here into a good position. So I set up my mock bed, if you will. We're gonna have a little bit of fun today. So when we talk about being on beds, I get that question a lot too. We're gonna bring it down a level today. I'm gonna be sitting on the floor with you. We're gonna bring it back to kindergarten a little bit, so bear with me. So yeah, one other big question I get is in terms of what should I be sleeping on? Always an important question. And again, this plays a little bit differently to every individual. You know, I think probably the most challenging aspect of that question I get is when we get couples asking that question. Because again, no two people are 100% the same. No two people have 100% the same needs when it comes to bed selection in most cases. Ideally, the biggest thing I focus on when it comes to choosing a bed is a bed that's going to support our body well, okay? So in a good general sense, you're not going to get that from a super duper cheap mattress in most cases. Or even if you do, it's not going to last very long. And obviously nobody wants to invest in a bed on a regular basis. So what do we do? For ourselves personally, we currently sleep on a memory foam mattress. We find that this does a really great job at supporting our body, keeping our spine well supported. But there are a lot of great options out there. Even from an innerspring standpoint, there are a lot of great innerspring mattresses out there that now have memory foam toppers, gel foam toppers. There's a lot of great options out there when it comes to beds in terms of its ability to support your spine. Some general rules of thumb when it comes to selecting a mattress is I always say to err on the side of going a little bit firmer than a little softer, because generally a super duper soft bed is going to do something. It's going to basically do one of these things where it's going to hammock out on you. Your hips are going to tend to sink a lot more, and you're going to put yourself in a less than ideal position. You're not going to be supporting your spinal curvatures from that side view, as we talked about, in the best way with a very, very soft bed. So you want something on that medium to firmer side that's going to do a better job at supporting you in a neutral position overall. And again, that can vary from brand to brand, mattress to mattress. Again, I don't say that there's any perfect mattress out there, at least not that I've found at this point. If I do, I certainly will tell you. But the biggest thing I say when it comes to mattress selection is, when you go to a store, what do they tell you to do? They tell you to lay down on the mattress. From my perspective, you're not going to know if a mattress fits your body well within 10 to 15 minutes. Even if you were able to sit there for 20 minutes maybe on the bed, you're not going to ideally know. The best thing to do is get the best sense you can when it comes to a mattress in the store. Lay on it for as long as you can. See how well you feel, see how comfortable position you can be. Can you keep your body in that neutral position? Always keep that in mind. And if you're finding that it does do a pretty good job in the store, that might be the best mattress for you. But never ever purchase a mattress that does not have a good return policy. Always be able to return that and exchange it for a different mattress, because the idea is you're going to get home and you're not going to really know how well you are going to sleep on a mattress until you actually sleep on it for a full night's sleep over the course of even a couple weeks. That's going to give you a much better sense of if this mattress is doing good things for your body or maybe less than ideal things for your body. So that's always the biggest thing I say with any of our clients, or anytime I get that question about what bed should I buy, is buy the one that feels the most comfortable for you in the moment, but make sure it has a good return policy so you can change things up if you need to. Nobody wants to be locked into a big purchase like a bed that isn't actually doing good things for our body. So I digress a little bit on that one, my apologies. So let's jump a little bit back into just kind of that sleeping position. Another big question I get to is pillow choice. Pillow choice is always a big thing. The biggest thing I see with most individuals is most people sleep with way too much of a pillow. So this is actually one of our pillows from home. So it's a simple curved pillow. But one thing I tend to find with most people when they're sleeping is they sleep with a lot of pillows. Your significant other may love having all these nice and lovely pillows on the bed. So what do? You either leave them there or you throw them on the floor. But for most people, when they sleep in that position, if they're sleeping on their back, if they're sleeping with a lot of pillows, what happens? Their head comes into that really tight flex position. I know a lot of people that come into our office and tell me this is what they do. If you're sleeping like this all night long, you're putting a tremendous amount of pressure into your cervical spine. And you're taking that curvature that we want to see, that C-shaped curvature, and you're taking it and you're moving it in the complete opposite direction. It puts a lot of stress on your spine, puts a lot of stress on your nervous system. So something you want to be very mindful of is you do not want to sleep with a massive amount of pillows if you are a back sleeper especially, okay? When you are sleeping on your back, you want to have a very minimal pillow. This pillow is not very thick, particularly when you look at this section of the pillow. It's very, very thin, and when I actually put my head on it, my head sinks right on down almost completely to the mattress, and that's really the ideal thing. You don't want a pillow that's going to lift your head forward off of the mattress at all, because that puts you into a less than ideal position. So what this allows me to do is it has a nice curved section through here which sits right into that cervical curvature and supports that spine in the correct position and allows my head to drop right on down into a nice relaxed position. It keeps my body in a really ideal place. So when you're laying flat on your back, as I will demonstrate again, I promise I won't fall asleep, you're going to lay straight on down. The neck stays very supported. My head is relaxed right on back. You can just relax right into that ideal position. Now, if you find as you lay here, you might feel a little bit of tightness in the lower spine. Easy way to work on that one is just simply grab a little pillow, a little rolled up blanket, whatever you have. Just set it right up underneath the knees. Nothing wrong with just letting those knees come out of that locked position. And as you do that, you're going to find as you're in that laying on your back position that you can be in a really relaxed place. This is how I tend to fall asleep most nights, as long as Dr. McKenzie doesn't find me snoring. And that really is a great way to be laying on your back in that respect. Now, as we look to our side sleepers, side sleeping is perfectly a good place to be too. Definitely a place I end up to a lot of times in the night. I tend to sleep on my side a lot. And again, the big idea here too is, again, it plays to the same respect. Let's keep our spine in a neutral position. So when we're looking at that here, you know, this pillow actually isn't really the ideal pillow when it comes to being in a side lying position, because the idea is you basically, as you look at your body and you're laying on your side, you're going to be naturally laying on your shoulder. So we have to basically fill the void from where our shoulder hits the bed to where our head is without allowing our head to go this way or that way too much. So we need to actually have a pillow that fills this entire space. So something more like this might actually fill the gap there. So as you lay on your side and you're in that position, your head is still staying in that nice neutral zone where my head isn't really lifted up. I'm not sagging way on down towards the bed, which again puts our spine out of neutral and puts a lot of stress there. So this is really the best place to be. Now additionally, for my side sleepers in particular, we want to go back to what we talked about, that subcategory of sleeping in that fetal position where the knees are super tucked up towards the chest. We don't want to be doing this, because what this does is it puts our whole spine in basically a C-shaped position. It puts a lot of stress there. So that's not what we want to be doing. We want to let the legs relax on down. We want to keep, again, that neutral spine as much as possible. That's going to keep us in a much more relaxed position. Now, for my side sleepers in particular, one tip I always give to really keep you in a nice, relaxed position in the best way possible is I highly recommend having a body pillow. Best thing you can do when it comes to my side sleepers is using a body pillow, something that you can not only hug towards your chest a little bit, it helps keep your shoulders and your arms in a good relaxed position, but something that actually extends all the way down to the point where you can actually put it between your knees and your lower legs a little bit as well. Because what that does is, and when you're in that side lying position, it keeps our legs from being nice and flat together. Now, I don't know if you, but I don't ever stand with my legs and my thighs completely together, my knees completely together. It's not a very comfortable position. Over time, this will put a lot of stress on your pelvis and lower spine. So what do we want to do a little bit? We want to have a little bit of a pillow that we can place between the legs there so that we can bring those knees and those legs into more of that, again, neutral position so we can take some of that stress off of things. This is an ideal place to be when it comes to sleeping on your side. It'll help from some of that lower back irritation that can occur. Now, again, as I said, you know, those are the two positions that I really want to focus on with you when it comes to our sleep positions. Side lying and back lying are really the best place to be. The big thing you just have to be mindful of, as I said, is just finding that right pillow combination and that right body combination is it keeps you in that neutral position. So when you're going out, when you're looking for a new pillow, looking for a new bed, that's what you want to have in mind. You're not looking for the softest, you're not looking for the cushiest, you're not looking for the one that has the most fancy features. Really, you want to look for something that allows you to stay in a nice neutral position. Now, for the couples out there, when it comes to selecting a bed, I personally haven't tried one, but moving into something where you have some adjustability from side to side, like a Sleep Number or one of those deals, that might be a good choice for you, because it might end up being that you're super duper petite and you don't put a lot of pressure on a bed, and you don't need quite as firm of a mattress as, say, your spouse, who might be a much bigger person, who again puts a lot more pressure on a bed and needs a little bit more support from their mattress. So we want to find some variability there for those that maybe need to find very different levels of support from their mattress. So keep that in mind there. Like I said, no two people are 100% the same. You want to find just kind of that even place for both of you to be in not only a comfortable position, but a more relaxed position for your sleep. Like I said, the big focus here right now is sleep is a vital need. And especially when it comes to managing stress, when it comes to the integrity of just our brain itself. Sleep is when it does all its pruning. Your brain goes through a process of just kind of clearing out all the clutter, reorganizing information. When we don't sleep very well, we're more prone to stress, we're more prone to anxiety. It puts our body in a less than ideal position. It leads to dysfunction. It leads to the issues that we see constantly in our office. So, the big thing here is we want to really focus on those ideal positions. As we said with anything, your body is super duper adaptable. And as we look at the system, my goal with any person when it comes to not only the care that we deliver directly within the office, but even in their education, is being mindful of the choices we make on a daily basis. Let's make more positive choices and be mindful of removing some of those negative stressors on our body, whether it's the physical things, the emotional things, the chemical things that we're putting into our system. The more we can mitigate those things and allow our body to adapt more so to the positive stressors that we're choosing, like proper posture and sleep, like the chiropractic care, like the exercise, the proper diet, the stress management, we can actually take better and more full advantage of those positive stressors to a better capacity. And that's what we want to do. My goal is always to get people to function at their highest capacity, to allow their bodies to function really like they're supposed to. We have an amazing system within our own body that has a massive ability to handle the day-to-day stressors, as long as we're putting it in the best position possible. So that's what I focus on, and that's what I want to be mindful of when it comes to the education in our office, when it comes to the education here on evenings like tonight. We have an ability to really change our system, to change our choices, and I think this is a great opportunity to do so. Sleep is like I said, is one of our most basic vital needs in that respect. So I highly recommend being more mindful of your sleep position. I believe you'll find that it makes a big difference in the overall quality of your just day-to-day life. Now let me take a quick peek. I do see there are some things coming in here. I want to make sure I'm not missing any questions or all that stuff here. I always sleep on my side. When should I be switching from side to side throughout the night? Okay, so Ms. Deborah made a comment about sleeping on one side. Should be switching from side to side throughout the night. That's a great question, actually. So when it comes to sleeping on a side lying position, the question, if I'm understanding you correctly, is should you be starting on one side and then changing over to the other and going back and forth, trying to, I'm guessing more or less, try to even yourself out so you're sleeping on the same way. In a basic sense, I can see where you're coming from there. As I look at that, if we have an ability to keep our spine in a neutral position, in the best case scenario, we really wouldn't have to switch back and forth because you're neutral, you're straight, you're not compensating one way or the other. If you find that you're maybe in a less than ideal position, it wouldn't necessarily be a horrible thing to go back and forth per se. But what I would say the best case scenario would be is to strive towards that neutral position. You'll find that it's probably going to serve you better than trying to be mindful of waking up halfway through the night and rolling around. But again, it's not a bad thing, even for just simple shoulder health for some people too as well, to, middle of the night, if you do happen to find yourself kind of dozing awake a little bit, just to roll over to the other side. It's always good to keep stresses equal to both sides of the body as much as we can. So certainly not a bad thought by any means. You're not wrong in that assumption either. I definitely say it would certainly benefit you more than it would ever harm you in that respect. So it's a great question. But yeah, great talking to you guys here tonight though. As always, if there's any questions, if there's any thoughts or concerns you want to go over with me, we're always an open book here. I'm always here to provide help. I'm always here to provide the hope towards a better future, a better health, a better function towards your system. system. So you can always find us here at the office. It's Thrive Family Chiropractic in Dover. Our number is 603-570-6705. Listen, I'm here to do whatever we can for you guys, especially through the stressful times of what's going on right now. We want to see our community as least stressful as possible. We always function better when we're relaxed, and that's what I would love to see. So thanks for tuning in tonight. As always, it was great talking to you guys, and I look forward to talking to you again next time. Take care.